Hey, what's up, guys? Alright, so a lot of news has broken out over the last few weeks in the Disney world, so I want to talk about some of that. But before we get to all that stuff, just a quick channel update. I had mentioned it in the comment section of my last video, but for some reason, I guess because of how late I was editing it, when I showed my next video slide over there, I showed Sword in the Stone, which is not my next video, it's the next Disney guy review. My next video, I haven't actually told you guys what it is yet, and I'm going to keep it secret at this point, because why not, right? But yes, that's due to come out next weekend, so look for that. Alright, but on to Disney news, because there's a lot to talk about here. So the first news broke a couple weeks ago, a little bit smaller, but worth mentioning, is DuckTales is coming back to television in 2017 on Disney XD. So yeah, an entire new generation of kids will have that theme song stuck in their head for their entire lives. But yeah, you know, it's interesting that they're bringing it back, and I know there was a show that I liked growing up, and a lot of people liked growing up, and you know, it's going to be interesting to track to see if this starts to become a trend of kind of reimagining all these old shows that we grew up with, the people that my age grew up with. I know I was talking with somebody the other day about, you know, things like Darkwing Duck and stuff like that, but it's going to be interesting to see because, you know, the Disney Channel really shifted a few years ago, at this point now a number of years ago, to more live action stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see if now they start to slowly shift back into cartoons, because we've seen stuff like Phineas and Ferb was wildly successful. So it'll be interesting. I'm also curious to see what the style of the new DuckTales is going to be. If it's going to be more in this new animation style, or if it's going to be looking more classic. If I had a bet, I would say it's going to be a newer style. So you wonder how it's going to look and how people are going to react to it. But I guess that's the other real question mark with it, is that who are they marketing this towards? Is it, you know, because are they really marketing to somebody like me, you know, who grew up with the show, or are you trying to get people who are that age group and maybe more used to this newer animation? So it's going to be interesting to track as we go forward. I hope that it's, you know, worth watching and kind of brings back some memories of the old show, so that'll be pretty fun. And then last week there were two other big pieces of news that came out. First off, there's going to be a name change for one of the Disney World parks. Disney Hollywood Studio is going to get a name change, and I don't think this was too out of left field. I think that some people pretty much saw this coming. It seemed like Hollywood Studios was kind of in flux as it was. I mean, we saw they took out the Mickey hat, and they've been closing some rides and changing some things up. So it really is a park in transition as it is already, so it doesn't shock me that they're changing the name. It is a little unusual that this is now going to be on its third name, because originally it opened as Disney MGM Studio and then ended up shifting to Disney Hollywood Studios, which is of course funny because I just got used to calling it Disney Hollywood Studios after years of still just referring to it as MGM Studios, so now I'm going to have to learn a new name. But yeah, we haven't had any indication yet as to what the new name will be. I have to imagine it's going to try to keep with this movie theme, but on the subject of themes in the park, I think that's going to be a big thing. I think really you're going to see an overhaul on the park in general, because one of the biggest complaints that I see people have with Disney Hollywood Studio is that it really is just a conglomeration of different things. I mean, you know, you have the elements of the movies, you know, like you have a lot of the live shows, and you have the Great Movie Ride and things like that. But then, you know, you throw in like American Idol Live, and then you have the Muppets over here, and then you have Star Wars over here, and you have, you know, the Hollywood Hotel over here. So it's or the Twilight Tower. What am I saying? The Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. That's the one. Oh yeah. And then, you know, so there's so many different. It's kind of like if the ride doesn't fit the theme of one of the other three parks, it kind of ends up in Hollywood Studios, which, you know, it's good, but it leads to a lack of identity, I guess is what it is, where, you know, the park says that it's a Hollywood park, but sometimes it doesn't always act like a Hollywood park. So it's going to be interesting to see if the name kind of reflects that, or if really just changes in the park in general try to make it feel like more of a theme. So it's going to be interesting to keep track of that. And one of the other major things that Disney Hollywood Studio has going for it is that it is an incredibly big park. I mean, when you know, when you really look at it, I mean, this used to be a semi-operating, backlot studio. So I mean, there is a ton of room there. So it's gonna be interesting to see, if they better utilize some of that room, and again, it can try to help kind of build in with the theme of a park. So I think that I remember hearing the backlot tour was being closed down, and there's a ton of room there. Something like the action show with the cars may or may not make it. So there's a lot of room to do some cool stuff there. So I'm really curious to see what happens there over the next few years. I always like Disney Hollywood Studios. I mean, obviously I'm a big movie guy, and they have some awesome stuff there. I love the world of animation and things like that, obvious reasons. But so I really want this park to do well. I really want it to become a destination again, as opposed to just kind of a spare parts place. But of course, the big news from this week is that Frozen 2 has officially been announced. Oh man, so where do we begin with this one? Yeah, it was one of those almost inevitable sort of deals. I think the moment you saw that this movie was going to be a big deal, people already started clamoring for Frozen 2. So, yeah, the announcement doesn't come as a major shock. For me, the real question is going to be, who is releasing Frozen 2? So let me clarify what I mean by this. So there's many different studios within Disney itself. The one that we are currently going through, and the most popular one, obviously, is the Walt Disney Animated Classics, which is the Walt Disney Pictures Studio, and Walt Disney Animated Classics is the major umbrella. Yada yada. So. But the other big ones are something like Disney Toon Studios. Disney Toon Studios primarily handles, these sequels, those direct-to-DVD sequels that have a very mixed reaction among Disney fans. So it's going to be interesting to see who takes this one, because a number of years ago, John Lasseter pretty much put the kibosh on direct-to-DVD sequels. And honestly, I don't think that this is going to be direct-to-DVD. I think it's going to make far too much money if it comes out in theaters. So, the real question is going to be, for me, is Disney Toon Studios going to be releasing Frozen 2 to theaters, or is Walt Disney Pictures going to do it? Where this becomes a big deal, at least for somebody like me, is that Walt Disney Pictures has really only ever done one true sequel in theaters, and that was The Rescuer Down Under. They've had like spiritual sequels like Fantasia 2000 and things like that, but the only true, this is the second movie has come from The Rescuers Down Under, and they've only done it once. So it's going to be interesting to see if they kind of break trend and have a second movie under the Walt Disney Animated Classic umbrella. And where this becomes important for somebody like me is that, because me personally, I always find the ones that get released by the Walt Disney Pictures to be like the real canon ones. Like these are the actual Disney movies, and those direct-to-DVD sequels and Disney Toon Studio stuff. They're nice little side stories, I guess, that you can take or leave as you wish. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. We haven't heard any word on it. We haven't really heard much about what the story would be yet. But yeah, it's really gonna be interesting to me to track this and see what they're doing with it, because now that it's been announced as a go, it's gonna happen. So let's see. But really, the whole idea of Frozen 2 it really is a reflection of the times almost to me, because, when back in the day, like in the early and mid 90s, when something like Lion King was huge, I mean, that was the best-selling animated picture of all time before Frozen came along, there wasn't this clamoring for Lion King 2 to come out in theaters. Like, it was just a different world back then. And it's funny, because nowadays everything has a sequel. Everything's a franchise. Everything has a sequel. So it again, like I said at the top of this, it was almost inevitable that Frozen 2 was going to happen. And it really is an interesting kind of look at movies and society today, that if a movie is successful, it will have a second one. When not all that long, I mean, the 90s weren't that long ago. Yes, it was, at this point 20 some odd years ago, but back in the 90s, you look at the Disney Renaissance, yes, those movies did have sequels, but again, they were released direct to DVD for the most part, and they weren't, there wasn't a group of people, really clamoring for them. They came out because they came out, but it wasn't like, oh, well, Tarzan was successful, obviously they're going to have Tarzan 2. Lion King was successful, they had Lion King 2. Beauty and the Beast was successful, they need to have Beauty and the Beast 2. Because a lot of these really felt like, one-off movies. The story was told, the story's done, happily ever after, ta-da. But, yeah, it's different these days. So, me personally, I've talked about this before when it comes to sequels. I'm always a little wary about sequels because, in my mind, my experience with Frozen was, I saw the movie, I liked the movie, I was satisfied with the ending, I was good with Frozen. You get worried then that, like, if Frozen 2 comes out, that it's going to degrade Frozen 1 for you, or that this Frozen mania is going to kind of make you jaded to the movie in general. So, I'm sure it's going to be good. I really hope that it's good. The music's going to be good. I'm curious to see what the story's going to be, but, yeah, it's really going to be interesting to track this, to see, who releases it, what the reaction to it is from the public, and really just kind of gearing up for more Frozen, for another wave of Frozen mania. So, a lot to look forward to with this one. And because I know that some of you guys are going to ask me, speaking of Frozen, about the short, Frozen Fever, and then coming to the live-action movie of Cinderella. I haven't seen it yet. I will see it hopefully very soon, hopefully next weekend. So when I do, I will have a Disney news and talk about it with you guys. Alright, so that's going to do it for me today, guys. Again, a lot of stuff to talk about here, so take your pick about what you want to talk about down below. Tell me what you guys think about DuckTales coming back, if you're excited for it, if you're indifferent to it. Let me know your thoughts on Hollywood Studios and name change and ideas that you guys have, how to make it, more cohesive. And, of course, let me know your thoughts on Frozen 2. You guys excited for it? Not excited for it? Any thought you got about Frozen or Frozen 2? Leave them down below. See you guys next week. Bye.